What is your favorite part of Labor Day weekend? Is it going in the pool or attempting to go in the pool because once you get to the first step, you're scared of cold water because you are a bitch? Or is it the smell of food, friends and family? Social distancing is dead at this point, so what's the point in that? Is it hamburgers and cheeseburgers, you eating all 15 of them because you are also a fat bitch? Normally, for me, it's All Out. Now, All Out last night was a mixed bag. You talk to a lot of different people. They're going to sit here and tell you the show was great. Some will tell you it was awful. A lot of negative reaction. Me, personally, there were some parts of the show I really liked, but this is one of the AEW shows that a lot went wrong, and it just, things did not flow the way that they should. If it was the fact that they didn't have full fans, whatever it was, this is your AEW All Out full show review. We go over everything. Hit the like button, subscribe, and don't you dare go anywhere else. You know, I think in general honesty, had this been a regular AEW show, there would be no type of discussion. It would just be, this was a lackluster AEW. But the fact that this was AEW All Out, and was supposed to be All Out, that's where the problem lies with something like this. That's where the problem lies with this show. There was things on this show that were great. Unfortunately, there was a lot that was not. Some things that nobody took interest in, decisions that didn't make sense. And despite all of that, I found enough in this show to not completely say that it was the worst show I've ever seen. A lot of people are saying it's AEW's worst pay-per-view that they had ever seen. That's possible. But again, AEW All Out is supposed to be one of their best shows. So the fact that this show played out the way that it did makes it not good. Would I go back and watch this whole show again? Not the whole show. One of the things that really bothers me, that some people complain about and call it nitpicking, is the length of the show. Why is... First off, the show didn't have to start at 8. I mean, it started at 7. Okay, great. The show was a near 4 hours long, and it just felt long. It just felt like it was longer than it needed to be. It just felt like it carried on. And again, the show was not... The card was stacked, so the show was going to be long, but it felt missing. There were some fans in attendance. There were just too many things about this show that were off for people to sit here and say what they did. So when people crapped on the show after it ended, we hold AEW to a high standard. SummerSlam was a better show. Payback, well... Payback shouldn't have even happened, but for less than a week of build, Payback wasn't that bad. So for AEW to have this, it's underwhelming. What kicked the show off? The match that I actually missed. I thought that this was going to be the second to last match of the night, and I actually missed it. I was at my cousin's, and I came home 15 minutes after the start of the show. Britt Baker versus Big Swole in a tooth and nail match. Can I explain something here? Britt Baker has her first match back in the most anticlimactic way that you could possibly think of. We get the story between Tooth and Nail. We understand it. Britt Baker should have come back in a traditional wrestling match. She should have come back in Britt Baker style. She should have come back in a traditional wrestling match. This match got a C-. My notes are from CBS Sports. As previously announced, this took place in Baker's dental office. I didn't watch it. Still to this point in time, I have not watched the match. But I can sit here and tell you from my knowledge, it's one of those one-off gimmick matches that was probably not very good. Baker got the jump early by hitting Swole with a diploma hanging on the wall, then tried to extract her teeth. Things went outside where Reba and Baker turned it into a 2-on-1 for a bit before Swole tossed Reba into a dumpster. Back in the building, Baker again went on attack and tried to use a drill before being handed a syringe of Novocaine, which Swole stole and injected into Baker's leg, putting the limb to sleep. Swole hit Dirty Dancing, shoved Baker onto a dental chair, and used gas to put her to sleep and win the match. There was just too much silliness and not enough meat here for what was needed, and this got the Ppv off to a weak start. I could pick Big Swole wins this match, by the way. So Britt Baker's back, by the way, and she loses her first match. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. This is the type of match that I don't know why it opened the show. Traditionally, when you have a wrestling show, you want things to open the wrestling show that are going to get people going, get people excited. They did rebound from this, sort of. But this match, again, should have been a traditional wrestling match. I see the things they write in the notes, and it's everything that I would expect would happen in a match like this. Big Swole wins. I mean, I got home at 8:15. And this match was already done. So I thought that when I walked into the Bucks and Jurassic Express that I was only missed a little bit of the beginning. But I missed that match. Will I ever go back and watch it? I'm not sure about that. The Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express. Now, this was a decent match. Fast-paced, solid tag action. But again, it feels like, and maybe this is just me, it feels like when AEW has their matches with tag teams, a lot of them are the same thing. And that doesn't mean that they're not good. We're talking about the Bucks versus Jurassic Express. The Bucks were wrestling with their new mean streak, but early big offense from the Express allowed them to take things over, especially once Luchasaurus got involved to really pile some big shots in on Nick Jackson. The Bucks eventually took over, trapping Jungle Boy after he'd been dumped out of the ring after a series of Northern Lights suplexes. Jungle Boy almost made his way to a hot tag, but Luchasaurus was super kicked from the apron. He did eventually get the tag, leading to a big sequence of kicks, capped off by a standing moonsault by Luchasaurus. And again, I've praised Luchasaurus since the day that he has come. For a guy that is as tall and big as he is, he really has some kick to him. A moonsault from the apron onto the Bucks on the outside moments later. After a Bucks comeback, Express went on another hot run, culminating in hitting Extinction level event for a near fall. Luchasaurus hit a dive to the outside that led him out of the action as both Jackson landed super kicks for a pair of near falls on Jungle Boy. The BTE trigger finished off Jungle Boy moments later, however, and the Bucks picked up the win. This was the moment where it felt like the pay-per-view kicked into AEW mode. Fast-paced and solid tag action. Young Bucks beat Jurassic Express. Jurassic Express is cool. We know they're capable of putting on good matches, but again, is there ever any plans with Jurassic Express? That's my genuine question. I sit and I wonder, the Young Bucks, again, this match was good, and it felt like this was the match that kicked off the show. Well, it kicked off my show because I missed the first one, but I think I was probably better off. Young Bucks win, great. What the Jurassic Express, we know what they're capable of. They put on matches. People are behind them. They like them. But can we do something with this tag team? I mean, it just feels like they're put into different matches with different tag teams, and they're just existing, as fun as they are to watch. The Casino Battle Royal. There were some moments in this match that were good, some not so good. Why is Billy Gunn still in the ring? Why? I mean, you had to figure with the Casino Battle Royal that there was no way that anybody that had any involvement in AEW was not going to get in the ring. Stories in this match. Matt Sydal. For those of you that don't know Matt Sydal was formerly in WWE as Evan Bourne. He was a very high-flying and athletic young man. His debut was great for the first couple of seconds, and then he did a wrestling move. We're going to talk about this. Obviously, there's threads that ran to this match. Issues between SCU, Santana, and Ortiz. Will Hobbs got a bit of shine. He scored eliminations and emerging as an early force. Brian Cage came in, tossing Billy Gunn immediately out. Should have never been in the match to begin with. Darby Allin was out next after and briefly cleaned house with a skateboard with the final group. Sean Spears came out, chose to go to commentary and pick his spot for when he would enter the match. Obviously, that's a heel tactic. You're in the match, nobody really tells you when you have to enter, and if you get eliminated under the ropes, technically you were never eliminated, so you can't really crap on somebody that's a heel and does things like that, as annoying as they are. And pick a spot for the win when they enter the match. Matt Sydal was the surprise Joker entrant. The moment went south when he slipped from the top rope attempting a shooting star press. Yeah, we're going to talk about that real quick before we go any further. The Joker entrant is the surprise entrant that AEW has for these kind of things. Matt Sydal is great. I think his look as Matt Sydal is much better than he was at Evan Bourne. He looked like a high school kid that was getting his big break. That's honestly how he looked in WWE. Never was anything more than interest in a tag team. Matt Sydal came out, great, everything happened, and then he went to the top to do his shooting star press, and it was an awful, awful botch. He went to the top to jump. He fell on the back of his head. He didn't even look to jump. It just looked like somebody was drunk on the top rope and completely lost their balance. Cage would load a body bag full of thumbtacks before stuffing Allen inside, throwing him over the top rope onto the entrance ramp for a gruesome elimination. That was not very That was very stomach churning. The final four were Butcher, Lance Archer, Eddie Kingston, and Seidel. No idea why Eddie Kingston was the part of the final two in this match. We knew the Butcher wasn't going to win this match. I mean, Seidel had a chance, but I didn't think he was going to win this on his debut. The guy's as green as grass. He just came into the company, and it wouldn't really make sense. Cage and Hobbs were knocked from the ring. Butcher was out next. Seidel leaving Kingston as Archer. As Kingston and Archer battled onto the ring apron, Butcher and the Blade tried to help Kingston, but Jake Roberts taunted Kingston with his bag containing a snake. Kayfabe. Kingston, who is afraid of snakes, was distracted enough for Archer to get the win. The Seidel blown spot was overshadow a perfectly fun battle royal. Yeah, it was a battle royal. It was what it was. I've gone to a point as a wrestling fan where I give AEW credit, but I've gotten to a point as a wrestling fan where I am not having the interest in battle royals that I used to have when I was a kid. That's just how I feel. The Royal Rumble, every single year, will always be exciting to me, no matter how crappy it may end. Despite the Royal Rumble being good this year, I've always been one of those people where I would get genuinely excited about. But AEW Battle Royals are a little bit more fun, and especially because their surprise is not someone who you tend to think. Lance Archer won this Battle Royal, which gives him a future shot as the AEW World Title, and he would be back on the show later tonight. Lance Archer's great. I thought personally that Lance Archer should have beaten Cody Rhodes for the TNT title, but Cody Rhodes obviously had a nice run with the TNT title. But now Lance Archer will be challenging, well, we'll get to that later, the worst match of the night, if you ask me. So bad that this actually, CBS Sports gave this a D-. Matt Hardy versus Sammy Guevara in a Broken Rules match. It's the same concept as an Extreme Rules match, but again, maybe they can't say that. Broken Rules, Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy is semi-broken. I don't understand. It's Broken Rules match. The guy has an accent, but he doesn't. His accent is sort of there, but it's not there. Things like that I don't get. The match started at TII Bank Field, home of the Jaguars, who will win probably 2 games this year. Hardy demanding Guevara face him, only for Guevara to try to run him down with a cart. I almost started losing my self-control because Sammy Guevara is just so funny. It's really hard to sit here and be normal when you see someone like Sammy Guevara because you just know he's just hilarious. They then battled on a lift that ended up being raised before both men crashed the table. This was the worst spot of the night. So basically, the spot was overdone. They fell off the lift, and Hardy looked like he completely missed the table, and his head had hit the concrete. Things got extremely weird as Hardy seemed legitimately hurt, unable to stand, and repeatedly checked on by the referee. The match actually was called off, so I was thinking to an extent that there was a chance that Matt Hardy actually was legitimately hurt here. But obviously, he was checked on. The match was called off. The cameras followed both men, and then Hardy emerged from a door as the match restarted. So clearly Matt Hardy said, "I'm okay." It seemed like a questionable decision because this legitimately seemed like a spot that looked pretty dangerous. Both men began climbing some scaffolding before Hardy knocked off Guevara with a right hand onto a padded part of the stage for a 10-count finish. The spot where Hardy appeared to get hurt was not safe. The decision to continue the match left me feeling uncomfortable, and the finish was rushed. Nothing about this worked, and all you can do is hope Hardy is alright. Yeah, this match was terrible. This match was terrible. I would have thought that this match could have been a lot better than what it actually was. Me personally, love Matt Hardy, love Sammy Guevara. Even the finish, which resulted in, you'll see a picture on the screen, the finish resulted with Sammy Guevara falling, and it looked like they were trying to replicate about 12, 13 years ago with what Jeff Hardy and Randy Orton did. But it was terrible because it felt like they were climbing 15, 20 feet in the air, and it was actually about 5 feet, and the spot I'm sorry. The ending was not good. The second that Matt Hardy fell and hit his head, that's where this match went downhill. This match was a complete failure. We'll see what happens. As long as Matt Hardy is alright, and he wasn't just trying to finish the match and then getting checked on afterwards. If Matt Hardy was legitimately hurt and he was just toughing it out to where he would finish the match, okay. But it didn't look good. It did not look good. I'll tell you that. Matt Hardy wins this match. AEW Women's Championship, some people were actually crapping on this match because it was slow and boring, and that's what I don't get. Sometimes there's wrestling matches that don't suit the style of what fans prefer. I thought this was a very good match. It wasn't perfect, but I thought that this was pretty good. Could have been a little bit better, but I thought the match was good. I really don't have much to complain about. That's Hikaru Shida defending her AEW Women's Championship against Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa is the NWA champion. She came over independently, had a match on Wednesday night, and now she was given a title shot. In all honesty, I don't think that Thunder Rosa would win this match, but she brought out, and hopefully, maybe AEW will give Thunder Rosa a contract. We can hope for something like that. I would hope for something like that. And we will see what happens. This was a good back and forth action to start the match. Rosa took over. She then cut off a Shida comeback attempt by leaping off of a chair at ringside and hitting a kick. Shida came back with a sleeper attempt, which Rosa countered into a pendulum before using the hold to swing Shida's head into the turnbuckle. Rosa, who really delivered throughout the match, hit Shida and Death Valley Driver on the ring apron near the fall. Every time a Death Valley Driver is done in a wrestling ring, it makes me cringe, because that outside part of the apron is hard as rocks. Shida hit that Death Valley Driver. Shida came back soon after, though. She hit a Meteora onto the entrance ramp, almost driving Rosa's head into the steps. Rosa kicked out of a Michinoku Driver at 1 and then countered Shida's strength muffler attempt. Rosa kept fighting back as Shida poured on the offense. A Shida running knee finally did the job. Not smooth all the way through, a few awkward spots, a still solid enough match, and a show that hasn't had enough of them. Yeah, I think Hikaru Shida retains her Women's Championship. Now, if Thunder Rosa gets this contract, great for her. Personally, I've been the one to say that Britt Baker should take the title off of Hikaru Shida. Hikaru Shida is great. She's actually 17-1. You talk about a record. The AEW Women's Division is suffering. That's not news to anybody. We've known that for quite a while. But if Thunder Rosa can come and be a part of this division, I think that would be great. I don't know if that's a possibility, but I think AEW is at a point now where they need more legitimate women instead of more women in general. You really don't have too much depth in this AEW Women's Division. So, you know, if you add 4 or 5 girls that are women, 4 or 5 women that are really good as opposed to 7 or 8 women that really don't or aren't there yet, that would make a lot more sense to me. The next match, you know what? CBS Sports gave it a B. I honestly can't sit here and tell you I agree. It was the Dark Order versus Matt Cardona, Scorpio Sky, and the Natural Nightmares. This was okay, but I felt like I should have cared about it a lot more than I did. The Dark Order was terrible when they first started. They rallied behind Brody Lee, and of course that's what, you know, started to spark them off. Cardona's great to see him. Unsurprisingly, it was QT Marshall who was the man cut off from the team early in the match. Cardona took the first hot tag and blitzed Colt Cabana until Evil Uno and Stu Grayson opened the ropes and set Cardona tumbling to the floor. Dustin Rhodes took the eventual next hot tag before leading to the build-up toward a Sky Showdown with Brody Lee. Anna Jay got involved, but AD Brandy Rhodes' pump kick, after seemingly having Marshall finished off, Lee threw him to the corner so he could tag into Rhodes before landing a brutal discus clothesline. Lee tagged in Cabana, gave him the honor of finishing Rhodes off, but Cabana missed the moonsault and was rolled up by Rhodes for the finish. Furious Lee was mad at Cabana. I set you up before sending the troops back, while Uno helped Cabana to his feet. Solid action. Could have been a lot better. Cardona, Sky, and Nightmares defeat the Dark Order. Brody Lee obviously is great as the Dark Order leader, but his job is strictly a dictator, because regardless of what happens, things are going to always end the way that it did. So that's that. I was thinking 5-star match of the year. We're talking about the AEW Tag Team Championships being defended. I thought that this was a very good match, but a lot of people said it was slow, boring, and it did not deliver to AEW standards. Everybody expects high spots in matches like this. If you appreciate and you understand tag team wrestling, you will understand this match was good. Little short of expectations, maybe. You know, these Omega and the AEW tag team titles are held to such a high standard. So that's kind of why we get what we get. It's Omega and Page defending their titles against FTR. Page asked Omega to trust him and allow him to start the match, which Omega went along with, but the move immediately set the table for their underlying issues as partners. After a hot start by the champions, Page found himself in trouble as FTR's teamwork started to take over. Omega hit much of his trademark offense after getting the hot tag. He soon missile dropkick on Wheeler. Soon found himself hit with a German suplex for a near fall. Both teams showed off some slick tag tactics FTR was just a step ahead of the moves, like using the referee as a shield while using the distraction to get an advantage. Omega kicked Hardwood off as Hardwood was trying to secure a leg lock, but shot him directly into Page. Page quickly got back onto the apron and took the tag, taking out FTR before hitting a dive from the top rope to the outside on both men. Momentum swings continued until Omega accidentally hit Page with a V-trigger. This is where it gets interesting. He hit Page with a V-trigger. Omega tried to pull Page from the ring. Hardwood dragged Page to the corner. FTR hit the Mindbreaker. 2 count. Another one came. After the second Mindbreaker, the job was done. FTR would win the titles. After the match, Omega seemed ready to attack Page, but instead he did what he shouldn't have done, and he walked away, left him lying in the ring. Backstage, Omega told the Bucks, "I'm done," and the 3 left the arena. Fantastic match again. I think that as good as this match was, the ending could have been done better. I think Omega should have just turned heel. Just turn heel on Page. Just do that. You know what I mean? We're sitting here, we're waiting for the heel turn, and I think that in all honesty, him just walking out of the arena and driving away is probably more anticlimactic than what could have been the heel turn. But this was a good match nonetheless. CBS Sports was not a big fan of this match, the co-main event of the evening. I personally liked it. I didn't think it was the best. I think that first match between Jericho and Cassidy, since that first match, nothing they've done has replicated it. It's Chris Jericho versus Orange Cassidy in a Mimosa Mayhem match. So obviously, the way to win this match was either pinfall, submission, or being thrown into the Mimosa pool. Obviously, they're getting thrown into the Mimosa pool. You wouldn't have it there, so the match could end by submission. Cassidy threw off his glasses, sprinted toward Jericho at the opening bell. Jericho was ready, hit a codebreaker for a near fall. Jericho then catapulted Cassidy into a vat of mimosa before the 2 battled on the platform next to the vat. Jericho powerbombed Cassidy onto a table on the platform, grabbed his baseball bat. Cassidy cut him off with a super kick. Cassidy then went on a run, used a bucket to Jericho's head, hit a nice Michinoku driver for a 2 count. Jericho eventually countered into the walls, but Cassidy managed to grab a cup of mimosa and throw it into Jericho's eyes. He then hit an orange punch before nearly throwing him into the vat. After Jericho tried to toss Cassidy from the top rope to the mimosa, Cassidy escaped, hit 2 orange punches, and the second one knocked him into the mimosa pool. It was the right call for Cassidy to win. The match never fully clicked, possibly because the stipulation was hanging over the entire match. Yeah, that's true. Any pin or submission attempt was not going to be taken serious because we knew what was going to happen at the end. So the fact that these superstars went for the pin, I don't really think that was the most logical decision. It's like being in a submission match or not a submission match. It's like being in, I'm trying to think, what would be a good example? I can't think of one right now. Cassidy winning needed to happen. This was one of their lesser exciting matches. The match wasn't terrible, but it could have been done a lot better. Again, Jericho and Cassidy have great chemistry in the ring together, but I thought that we could have seen a little bit more out of what this actually was going forward. Main event of the evening. This was great. It was Jon Moxley defending his AEW World title against MJF. And if there's one of the things that I want to say about this, it's the fact that I thought that a while ago that MJF was going to win the world title. But then the closer it got, I thought that there was more of a chance that Moxley could retain. Jon Moxley won this match and retained his title. Let's talk about the match real quick before we get into anything else. After some early work from MJF, Moxley got the action to the outside where it quickly took over. The Wardlow was hovering over the action. Back in the ring, MJF almost hit a crossroads, but did manage to lock in an armbar before Moxley again imposed his will with pure physicality. A bit of distraction from Wardlow allowed MJF to attack Moxley's arm again, take things over. Moxley came back when the action again went outside the ring, though he was now battling against an injured arm. With the action back in the ring, MJF was bleeding profusely from the face from Moxley's assault, and the champion had to fight his instincts at the paradigm shift. This match was built around also Jon Moxley not being able to hit the paradigm shift. For those of you that know, that's Jon Moxley's finisher, and it's been a well-protected finisher in AEW, but Jon Moxley was not allowed to hit the paradigm shift in this match against MJF whatsoever. The blood that was on MJ's face, I don't believe that was real. The paradigm shift was banned from the match. Moxley had a Gotch-style pile driver shortly after. MJF was able to kick out of that. Moxley began biting the bloody face of MJF, showing his craziness. MJF again went on the attack on Moxley's arm, including a stomp from the top rope as Moxley's arm was clutching the top rope. After MJF spit in Moxley's face, the champion again looked to hit the paradigm shift, but stopped himself, allowing MJF to lock in the Salt of the Earth until Moxley got to the ropes to break the hold. MJF hit the Heat Seeker for the 2 count, tried for the move again. Moxley countered with an air raid crash for an own near fall of his own. Wardlow hopped onto the ring apron. This is where the match ended, and it backfired. We know that MJF's a heel, and he's going to do whatever it takes to win. Wardlow hopped on the ring apron, distracted the referee, and while doing that, he threw MJF's ring to his man. So it was seeming like MJF was going to use his ring to get the dirty win. Moxley saw the ring thrown into the ring, Moxley saw the ring thrown into the ring. MJF did not catch it. And he also realized the referee was distracted, so Moxley said, you know what, MJF, if you're going to cheat to win this match, and the referee's not looking, I'm going to do the same exact thing. He hit the paradigm shift. Jon Moxley hit the paradigm shift behind the ref's back. 1, 2, 3, Jon Moxley retains the title. A solid bout. MJF proved again he can go. Moxley stayed hot. A nice finish to an odd and largely disappointing pay-per-view. This pay-per-view had its moments and its strides. After the match, Lance Archer came to the ring with Jake Roberts to give the stare down to Moxley. So potentially we will see Moxley versus Archer at Full Gear in November. Me personally, I love the main event. I love some other things in between, but for AEW standards, this was a very underwhelming show. That's what I'm going to say about that before I head out of here. Lance Archer's great, but Moxley's at a point right now where I don't know who you're going to put in front of him that should win. I mean, MJF was the best guy, unless they continue that feud. I loved it. I loved the match. But, again, I don't know what is their plan for the AEW World title. I mean, you can't... I just don't think... Like, Moxley's beaten everybody that's been put in his way, and I don't think that Moxley can't beat Lance Archer. But if they're really that high on Archer, they could give him the title. But I don't think... It's hard to see Moxley losing to anybody. But ladies and gentlemen, as always, I appreciate you always as watching. We're going to be doing the 2 final football previews this week, as always. Continue to stay safe.